Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Edna White. I'm so glad you're with me today. I am your life coach, your author, and a trauma recovery advocate. And I'm so glad you're here with me today. Today, we're going to talk about something that we often don't talk about, and it's about the pursuer versus the distancer, a relationship dynamic. You're probably saying, what? There's a dynamic to this? Of course, there is. I'm going to educate you about the common relationship patterns. And I'm going to invite you to reflect on your own dynamic, right? The pursuer and the distancer. What does that bring about in your mind? For me, it's one of the biggest silent destroyers of intimacy, whether you're in a romantic relationship, a family, or even friendships. This pattern creates conflict, confusion, and emotional burnout. So, what exactly is the pursuer distancer dynamic? First, the pursuer needs connection, closeness, consistent communication. When stressed, they move toward their partner. The distancer needs space. They're independent, avoids vulnerability. When stressed, they pull away. So you can just look at this like putting the positive and the negative of a magnet together and trying to make them stick. Yes, polar opposites. These roles are often unconscious and we don't realize it. We actually don't even realize that our partner's doing it. We may interpret it that they're pushing us away. And they feed into each other, causing more confusion and more aggravation to one another. The more the pursuer pushes to be closer, the more the distancer retreats. The more the distancer retreats, the more anxious the pursuer becomes. Get it? Yeah. See, where does it come from? Right? These patterns often begin in childhood. I know you're probably thinking, holy crap, everybody's thinking it comes. It does. You learn patterns, and we know it when we're really young. Learn them subconsciously and consciously. Now, listen, maybe the pursuer felt emotionally neglected and learned to chase love. Okay? I have a client that literally was emotionally neglected by their father. And every relationship he gets into, it's overly emotional and it seems to backfire on him because he's always giving too much and they're really not into it for that. So he gives too much and it usually backfires on him and then his heart is crushed, right? That is a perfect example of a pursuer and a distancer. The emotional neglect that he felt from his father as a child, he's trying to chase after it in love with women, right? With his friendships, with his family. And sometimes when he doesn't get it, he's usually just brokenhearted and just retreats within himself. Now, maybe the distancer grew up in a home where vulnerability was punished or ignored. So if you were crying when you were younger, stop crying. Men don't cry. Cut it out. You're getting it emotional. The distancer has heard that over and over again in their lives. Rings a bell or two or three? Right. So it's anxious versus avoidant. Anxious, the distancer, avoidant. Right? Right? Get all this going. So trauma and survival instincts can make these roles feel permanent. This is not about blaming one or the other or even your parents. It's about understanding how both people are reacting to fear. Okay? Because that's what it really boils down to. There's two things in life: love and fear. You're acting out of one of those areas. Always, always, always. So let's talk about some more examples. Because I'm a practical person. I like to see this in practicality in life. I did give you an example of my client who is a male who didn't it was neglected. And that's a perfect example, right? Perfect example of chasing love. Here's some more up to date ones, maybe. You call or text constantly and they rarely respond. That's a pursuer. You need to talk about the problem now. They want to cool off. Distancer. After an argument, one person shuts down for days, the other can't sleep. Classic dynamic. If this sounds familiar, drop a fire sign, please. That means that you are definitely in the know and you are saying that's me. Okay? I know that was me too. So, hey, I already dropped my fire sign. Now, how do we break this cycle? How do we do that? By literally starting to recognize. So we did start recognizing it right then and now. We now have some new information to start recognizing, not to blame. You can absolutely change this, but not by forcing the person to become like you. No way. Don't expect that because it's not going to happen. So if your partner, if you're the pursuer, let's just start with you first. If you're the pursuer, you practice pausing and self-soothing before reaching out. So maybe soothing could be, let me just, do this, or maybe just sometimes even just like giving yourself a hug or breathing in and breathing out, trying to get yourself together. And then journal how you feel instead of reacting. A lot of what we do in any dynamic is a whole lot of reactions to fear. Okay? If you're the distancer, acknowledge when you're shutting down. I'm shutting down. I don't know how to process it right now. And you need to say that. Not just to walk away, not just to be fearful. You need to say, hey, I'm shutting down. I don't know how to process this right now. Communicate your need for space with a promise to return to the conversation. Let me calm down right now because my thoughts are everywhere. And let me be able to come back to this conversation a little bit later. Both roles need to feel safe. Safety is what ends the dance, right? Once you communicate that you need safety, you need to gather your thoughts, it calms the situation down. But when you get into fear and you start reacting and you get emotional and start arguing and nothing gets solved, and it's just something else that you have to roll on top of every day, like a roller coaster. So, which role do you identify with? The pursuer or the distancer? Or maybe you've been both, depending on the relationship. Drop a P or a D in the chat. P for pursuer, D for distancer. Now, listen, if this resonated with you and you want to get a free guide from me, go into the comment section because I have 5 habits to shift toxic relationship cycles just for you. I'll send you the PDF. You just drop a little note in there with a POW sign. I'm interested. Free guide. Okay? Just put free guide and I'll send it right to you. All right? Also, don't miss my Friday Lives where we talk about emotional distance, the silent killer in relationships. Until next time, remember, you deserve safe, honest, and connected relationships. Bye for now.